Now to attach the basket. This is my favorite trick. I learned from my night a long time ago, and it's one of my favorite tricks for making stuff in the SC in general. To attach your basket to your stick, some people use hose clamps. Don't use hose clamps. They break, they pop, there's sharp metal involved. They're useless. Some people will try to tape it on. If you straight tape it on, again, it's going to tear. There's a lot of vibration and movement. It'll just fall apart. So here's the trick. Yourself a nice long piece of tape like this, strapping tape again, because it's really good, tough stuff. And what you do is you just kind of tweak it over a little bit at the edge so that it's all sticky stuff sticking out. And then you just twist. Spin and twist. What I'm doing is I'm making a rope here that's going to hold my tip on, or my basket on. And I have never had this rope break. Consistently, my sword will break before this does, and I gotta cut this off every time. But it doesn't add any weight, and it's dirt cheap to make because it's just some strapping tape. So now I got my rope, it's sticky, and I'm tear it off. I like these little cutter things. There we go. And I've already done the bottom part, but I'll show you how to do the top part. I'm going to overlap some so that I can give it a nice tight pull. And because it's sticky, it holds itself. So a nice tight pull and wrap it around a couple times. That's why you want a nice, relatively long rope, 18 inches, maybe 2 feet. 2 feet, I think, is a little bit too much. And there you have it. It's on there, and that's not twisting, it's not wobbling, and it's not going to break. Now to make the thrusting tip. Make your thrusting tip out of this blue camping foam. You can see where I've taken chunks out. What I do is I just pop my stick on there. See about how, what I want is essentially to cut a square that's a little bit wider than the stick itself. I'm just going to mark that here. Just make squares, like that there, and I need 3 of those. For a sword, you need about 3 layers of blue foam. For a great weapon, you need about 5 layers of blue foam. All right, so I've just made my marks there. Just gonna cut those out really quick. I'm just going to cut the corners off so that they're almost round. I don't want a lot sticking out at the top. I don't want something that looks like a Q-tip. Okay, really should have checked for a fit first. Got ahead of myself. What I want is a piece of blue foam that is a little bit wider than the stick is. So a little bit wider all the way around than the stick is. Because I'm going to be compressing this foam, so I don't want it to be the same width, because when I compress it, that'll expose these rattan edges around here, which you can't have with a thrusting tip. You have to have a little bit of pad cover that up. Okay, now to make the thrusting tip. And I actually attach the thrusting tip. So I'm going to take one of my relatively large pieces of foam. I like to start with whichever one ended up as the largest. Put it over the tip so that there's about equal overlap on all sides, which I'm just feeling. And then back to your strapping tape. I've torn a piece in half. I've cut about 6-8 inches here, and then torn it in half. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it straight across the top here, stick it to the foam before I stick it to the stick, and then, okay, once I've got it in place, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a little bit of compression, not much, stick it down, and then turn, and just put a cross on it, put an X on it, the other side. Again, little bit of compression, and sticky down. Okay, show you another quick trick. One of the beautiful things about strapping tape, again, I've cut 6-8 inches here. One of the cool things about the non-cross-hatched strapping tape is you can just take it and, oh, this one's not going to show you just because it's on video. There we go. Just get it started, and it just peels right in half, and it won't tear across because of those little fibers. Okay, let's see. So, going to my next piece, see how the X is this way that I first made. What I want to do is I want to get these corners stuck down. So, for my next piece of blue foam, actually I'm just going to start it on the foam. For my next piece of blue foam, I'm going to go in an X instead of a cross. I'm going to knock down those corners. So I'm just going to attach both of them to start with. There we go. Okay, go the opposite direction. So I've got a cross here. I'm gonna go an X on this one. Like I did before, a little bit of compression, stick it down. A little bit of even compression both sides. A little bit of compression, whoop, stick it down. You can see I'm not super torquing on these. I want there to be a little bit of pad, but I also don't want it to be so soft that when I stab somebody with it, they're not even gonna notice. They gotta be able to feel it. Thrusts are one of the hardest things to land in heavy fighting because they don't feel the same as getting hit in other ways, so people don't notice them. If you have a soft thrusting tip, nobody's going to take your thrusts. Okay, and this one I'm going to give a fair amount of compression to. The others, I don't think I compressed quite as much as I wanted to, so this one I'll give a little bit more. Okay. Now, I said we don't want a Q-tip. Don't worry too much about this expansion that you've got here. I'm going to show you a trick for how to deal with that and make your sword more useful. Okay, this thrusting tip needs to be solidly attached, and these little strips that we've put on here aren't enough, I have found. So, back to our strapping tape. What I'm going to do is put a layer of strapping tape again, pulling hard. But this time, instead of just compressing, instead of just taking the rattan, I'm going to keep pulling really hard, and I'm going to tape around the thrusting tip, just around the sides, not across the top, because that's already compressed enough. But I'm pulling it all the way around the sides to take up that puffiness that was there. So, now we see that it's pretty much the same. We've got a nice bit of squish here. And because this is now so tight, if I accidentally hit somebody up here that's partly on the thrusting tip, it's still going to be firm enough there that they'll feel that as a shot. So, stick almost complete. It's entirely built. Now we just got to cover it up and make it look nice.